Good morning, everyone, and we'll wait another minute to let everyone join us. Well, it's 10:02, and I think we'll start. Good morning, everyone, again. Welcome to our Teach and Learn webinar. It is a gloomy day here in Madison, and we'll try to make it brighter for you today with some wonderful conversations and fantastic presentation. This session will be recorded, and everyone who registered will get a copy of it. Today's guest, we have Teach and Learn with WiscNet, MS-ISAC, which is also known as Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, and Megan will be doing presentation for that organization. And we have Simona with CIS, which is known as Center for Internet Security. And I will let the ladies introduce themselves. And before we do that, a reminder, if you have a question, put it in chat and we'll get to them later. I think that's all from me. Ladies, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning, guys. Can I go ahead and share my screen, Michaela?
Yes, let me stop.
Awesome. All right. Let me just share my screen with you guys here. Uh-oh. Where did it? Huh, okay. Sorry, I'm not seeing my presentation here. Okay. Sorry, you guys. Let's see. There we go. Okay. All right. So thank you guys for having me. My name is Simona Hofflin. I'm an account executive with the Center for Internet Security. I'm going to go over a couple of the services that we offer to our MS-ISAC members and how these services can help you better your cybersecurity, hygiene, and posture. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat and we'll follow up. And hopefully everyone can see my screen good. So moving on. So guys, we are under attack. There was a time when we could literally pinpoint these attacks and say, Russia's mad at us, China's upset. But the reality of today is that cyber attacks and cyber threats come from all over. It's not just one place. They're not just external. There's also cyber threat actors that live within our organization. Building a defense in-depth cybersecurity strategy is really a key element to protecting your network and your environment, your infrastructure. Defense in-depth strategies are all about layers. They're layers of controls and mitigations. And what these layers do is they create hurdles. They make it difficult for these cyber threat actors to actually invade into your environments. What we know about cyber threat actors is that they typically want to get into your environment. They want to wreak their havoc, make their damage. They want to leave a little, what I like to call a window or a hole, so that they're able to come back if they want. And so our goal is to create these hurdles that makes it difficult, makes them think twice about invading or penetrating into your environment. So I'm going to talk about a couple different layers that will help protect your environment today. And the first layer that I'm going to talk about is protecting your network. So Albert, hopefully some of you guys on the call have heard about Albert. Maybe you've heard some talk from fellow members of the MS-ISAC community, but what is Albert? Well, other than being like a really cool name and a good friend here, Albert is an intrusion detection system. It's an IDS. And what it does is it incorporates the 24/7 by 365 monitoring and management of the CIS SOC. Our SOC is available to our SLTTs around the clock. It doesn't matter if it's 8 a.m. in the morning, if it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, or if it's Christmas Eve. Our SOC is always available, not only to monitor and manage our deployments, but also to be of a resource to our SLTTs. So back to Albert. So Albert, it's an IDS. An IDS has been around, they've been around for quite some time. They're considered to be the gold standard of network level protection. So for the sake of an analogy, if your network was the equivalent to a house, then Albert would be like the burglar alarm that protects your house. So kind of vision this with me, if you will. If an intruder were to try to break down your door or bust down a window, your burglar alarm would make a lot of noise, and that noise would fire off an alert that's sent to a monitoring center where somebody would review it, and they might reach out and say, Michaela, John, Jack, what's going on? Okay, that's really similar to how Albert works. Albert works by identifying malicious or potentially harmful network traffic. When Albert feels that it's made a signature match or it's picked up on behavior it could lead to malicious activity, it will send an alert to the CIS SOC. Now remember, our SOC is available around the clock, regardless of day, time, holiday, birthdays. They're always there because cyber threats happen at any time. They don't just happen when we've stepped away from our workspace or when we've gone to bed. They can happen when we're sitting right here in front of our screens. So Albert's going to detect a signature match, and it's going to send this alert to the CIS SOC. Our expert human analysts are going to review your alerts. They're going to remove the false positives. They're going to scrub these alerts. Then they're going to reach out to your organization with items that require your attention. So if your environment is noisy, and this is a very subjective comment because what's noisy for one may not be noisy for somebody else. But if your environment's noisy and it's shooting off a lot of alerts, scrubbing these alerts can be very time consuming. Signal fatigue, alert fatigue, these are real things. So we're just going to put that on the SOC. Let them handle that cumbersome heavy lifting for us. The SOC's going to scrub those alerts. They're going to remove the false positives and they're going to notify you. So what that means is while myself and my colleague Megan, we would love to be on the phone all day with our members reviewing every single alert, I'm pretty sure you guys have more important things to do than talk about false positives all day. So when the CIS SOC reaches out to you, that means that we are looking for your attention. We need you to get up and act. And time is of the essence here. And the average industry standard from response time from detection to notification is 6 minutes. That bar was actually set by the CIS SOC. But of course, our SOC wasn't good. That wasn't good enough for them. So they actually consistently outperform with an average response time of 5 minutes. So 5 minutes from the time that Albert detects that signature match to the time that you're made aware of what's happening in your environment. Albert has this very unique benefit of not only being able to monitor net flow data, but Albert also has the ability to store about 6 months of net flow data. So first off, what is net flow data? Okay, another analogy coming your guys' way. So think back to the days before emails and text messages. If I wanted to send my colleague Megan a letter, I would have handwritten a letter and I would have put that letter inside of an envelope. I would have put my information on that envelope. I would have put her information. I would have put a stamp on it. And I would have taken that envelope to the post office where it would have been scanned. The externals of that envelope are the equivalent to NetFlow data. NetFlow data tells us the source IP, it gives us the destination IP, it gives us a timestamp, it gives us the who, what, where, when of the data, but it doesn't tell us what's inside of the data. Meaning, we're not reading your emails. We're not interested in the correspondences between your organization and another, or even internally. We're interested in that NetFlow data. Now, not only can we monitor NetFlow, but we can store NetFlow data. If you're wondering why we store NetFlow data, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, our Alberts alerted to malicious activity. Those alerts were reviewed and analyzed. They were scrubbed by the CIS SOC. Our SOC then stood up and, if you will, rang the bell and said, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a cyber attack. This was a valid cyber attack. But here's the caveat. It was a 0 day. It was a brand new cyber attack. There were no signatures written for this malicious activity. Our SOC was able to quickly write that signature, and then using the stored NetFlow data, our SOC can stop the clock and rewind time and go back and query all of the Alberts that are deployed to see, has this now identified malicious signature ever traveled through our members' environments? And if it did, they were able to reach out. John, my apologies. Our intel shows us that this newly identified malicious signature traveled through your environment. And here's what we need to do to help you remediate and recover. The 0 day that I'm talking about, that many of you guys will recognize, is known as the Microsoft Exchange vulnerability. I hope there's some heads nodding in the background because that was a really big Albert detection. An IDS is always going to be talked about as a good level of protection for your network, but it's only going to be as strong or as pertinent as the signatures that make up the database. And so very unique to Albert, our Albert is able to capture signatures from 3 distinct sources, not just 1, not 2, but 3. Our Albert signatures are comprised of commercial signatures, CIS research and threat data analysis, like the 0 day we just talked about, and also recently declassified signatures from the Department of Homeland Security. These 3 sources make up the 32,000 signatures that Albert's databases run off of. On top of that, we update our Alberts every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We push out updates to Albert. That keeps Albert very robust. It keeps him up to date with the latest and greatest signatures that plague our SLTT community. This is a common example of an Albert deployment. Now, this is not the end-all be-all with deployments, but this is the most common. What I want you guys to really take note here is Albert is an actual device that's installed right inside your firewall before the NAT translation. And it's going to use a span mirror port or a network tap. We're going to configure the Albert to work in your environment based off what you tell us you need. That span mirror port is going to mirror a copy of that raw network traffic to our Alberts. CIS, we're very big fans of having transparency and insight into your environment. And so oftentimes when we've deployed an Albert, one of my favorite phone calls I get, typically about 60, 90 days after an Albert deployment, I'll get a call. Simona, we deployed Albert, but it's really quiet. And I love that, you guys. Quiet is such a good thing. Quiet is not a bad thing. But keep in mind, what's quiet on your end may be extremely noisy at the CIS SOC. And so, for the love of transparency and insight, you'll receive a monthly activity report. This activity report will be emailed to you, and it's going to highlight the nationwide summary so that you have a look into what the other SLTTs in our community are doing. What are they facing? It's also going to highlight your executive summary and the Albert event ticket summary. This is a copy of that report. This is a much older copy. It has by far become more robust. It's got more data inputted into it now. However, you can see that this agency that felt that their environment was very quiet was actually not so quiet. I mean, look at how many Trojan activities Albert was able to capture, how many events Albert was able to detect. This report can be used to share within your organization, with your team members and your colleagues. You can also use it during budget and planning committee meetings. It works as a great validation to continue on with Albert. Again, transparency into your environment. So we just talked about protecting your network, but let's dig in another layer. Again, defense in depth strategies, layers of controls, layers of mitigations. So let's talk about device level protection. CIS, we have an offer, our endpoint security services offer. It's a partnership with CrowdStrike. So it's CrowdStrike powering the front end, but it's the CIS SOC that's monitoring and managing on the back end. Again, same kind of process as you saw with Albert. Endpoint security services will detect or block malicious activity. It's going to generate that alert to the 24/7/365 SOC. From there, our SOC's going to scrub those alerts. They're going to remove the false positives. But now they can react to your alerts. They're also going to notify you with those actionable events. Again, time is of the essence. Industry response times for alert to escalation is 10 minutes. Once again, our SOC, they're never okay with that. They're going to outperform it. So they have a consistent response time of 6.5 minutes. So they're moving fast again here. This service brings forward 6 modules. You get Prevent, Falcon Insight, Falcon Spotlight, Discover, Device Control, and Firewall Management. Let's dig in and kind of look at what each module brings forward. Falcon Prevent is your next generation antivirus. So some highlights here. Just to share a quick story, whenever I talk about antivirus, I always have this vision in my mind of being back in college and sitting in my dorm room trying to download Norton antivirus. And it was clunky, it was heavy, it took up all the CPU storage I had, and it took like 13 hours. I mean, it was a cumbersome experience. Those days are gone. Falcon Prevent, the next generation antivirus, this is a cloud integrated endpoint protection. It's lightweight. There's no system lags. There's no drags. Deployment's quick and easy. It also gives you signature and behavioral malware protection, which allows us to be able to identify known and unknown threats. And when we do identify a threat, we can then use Falcon Insight to hunt down that threat. We're literally able to drill down and locate and pinpoint the exact endpoints that have alerted to malicious activity. Once we have them pinpointed, we can quarantine and isolate those endpoints. What that does is it stops that threat right in its tracks. So if you're wondering, what does that mean? You're going to quarantine and isolate that. Well, that means the machine's no longer connecting. That means that, yes, you may have to reach out to the CIS SOC to get those machines back online. But don't worry, they're going to help you. They're going to help you remediate. They're going to help you recover. The alternative is having completely devastated infrastructure, malware, ransomware. So again, Falcon Insight is going to allow us to pinpoint the exact endpoints that are alerting to the threats and quarantine and isolate them, stopping the threat right in its tracks. Falcon Spotlight. This is a vulnerability management module. Currently, if you're running any kind of vulnerability management software, what you might find yourself having to do is open up that software, press scan or run, and then wait possibly 3 to 4 hours. Once the scan's complete, you have a screen full of data. What do you do with that data? Now you have to export it to an Excel spreadsheet. Then from there, you have to filter and create lists. And then you get to go on the Google hunt to find the remediations and the patches for those vulnerabilities. Again, those days are over. Falcon Spotlight is a passive scan. It's running in the background, and it's capturing the activity on your endpoint, and it's looking for vulnerabilities. So think about, what is a vulnerability on an endpoint? Currently right now, as I'm presenting, I literally have a little alert that's on my screen telling me I need to update my software and update my OS platform. Those are vulnerabilities. See, I work in cyber tech, and even I have a vulnerability today. Vulnerabilities can be that simple. We're human, right? Maybe you've spent some time updating the operating platforms and you missed one. That's a vulnerability. With Falcon Spotlight, you're going to go into your dashboard. It's going to be color coded like a stoplight. Red, critical detection. Green, all systems go. Within that dashboard, you have a complete actionable report, and it's real time, up to date. You can go back into this dashboard 20 times a day if you feel the need, and 20 times a day, you'll see updated information. With this report, you can create lists, you can query, you can filter. There is a small amount of patch management that can be done. That is we are only able to push out patches to your Windows-based machines. However, if there's a patch available, the beauty of Falcon Spotlight is there will be a little button that'll say push or patch, and you'll just push it through. Falcon Discover. This is all about having insight and transparency into your environment. With asset inventory, you're going to be able to see all of the assets or IP addresses that are connecting. So when I open up asset inventory in my home, what I see is my Alexa. I see my iPhones connecting. I see my dishwasher, my refrigerator, my laundry, my washer and dryer. Now imagine when you open up asset inventory in your organization's environment, you're going to be able to see all those IP addresses. The goal is to achieve compliance and maintain compliance. User account monitoring will allow you to drill down to the user's behavior. Where is the user going? What time are they logging in? Where are their failed logins? What part of your environment are these users trying to access? This is a good way to track behavior and track those changes in behavior. And then my favorite part of Falcon Discover is the application inventory. I'm going to throw myself under a bus. How many times have we found ourselves sitting in our workstations and we maybe have 10 extra minutes, 15 extra minutes, instead of decompressing and going for a walk around the block or stepping outside for fresh air or saying hi to a colleague? How many of us have downloaded a game like Oregon Trail or even Solitaire? No harm, no foul intended, right? We just wanted to decompress. I downloaded Oregon Trail just thinking I wanted 10 minutes to just decompress and kind of unfocus on work for a moment. Application inventory is going to give you insight into all those deployed softwares and applications. You get to make that judgment call. Do you want to keep that or do you want to get rid of it? So for myself, when I downloaded Oregon Trail, I found that the next day it was removed from my laptop. I no longer had access to it. Somebody had caught it and removed it. Other use cases. How many times have we downloaded a software like Adobe Acrobat? Maybe we had a project we were working on, so we paid for 5 licenses. The project completed, the licenses expired, we never renewed it, and now it's buried somewhere in our network. Application inventory is going to allow you to see all those downloads. It's going to allow you to find the specific versions, identify unauthorized software like my Oregon Trail I downloaded, and you make the judgment call. Are you going to keep it? Or are you going to leave it? Falcon Device Control and Falcon Firewall Management. These two are going to bring a level of granularity to your organization. You'll have access to your management portal. You can go into your portal, you can see your CrowdStrike scores, you can see your threats, you can create, look at your USB device control. You can do that every day, multiple times a day if you'd like, or you don't ever have to access that management portal. It's up to you. The CIS SOC is going to be fully monitoring and managing. So if you choose to access your portal, awesome. If you don't want to, that's okay. With host-based firewall control, Falcon Firewall Management, you'll be able to create firewall groups and push out firewall rules. And then there's USB device control. I think this is the most sought after and desired module. We've all heard that story of the USB device that was left in a parking lot. You know, curiosity killed the cat, right? How many times have we found a USB device? We weren't sure what's on it. We can't remember who gave it to us. So we plug it in. USB device control is going to allow you to lock down or unlock the USB devices that are connecting to your network. So when that team member finds that random USB device that they can't remember and they plug it in, they could get a warning. This is an unauthorized USB device. Please contact your system administrator. Or the other side is if Sharon from HR reaches out and says, I need a USB stick because I'm working on a project and I need to save my work. You can unlock that USB stick, send it out to her. When she plugs it in, all is good and working well. With the USB device control, you can lock down based on serial number, manufacturer code, product IDs. You can also customize those error messages. So if you know you have a frequent abuser, you could make a message say, Simona, stop plugging in USB devices. No, I'm kidding. We really wouldn't do that, but you can customize your message. Again, this service is fully monitored and managed by the CIS SOC. Our SOC becomes an extension of your team. If your team is a one-man show, or maybe you have a whole brigade behind you, it doesn't matter. Our SOC is always available. They are on guard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our SOC gives you the peace of mind to take that day off, to enjoy your weekend, to take an extended vacation. If anything happens, they're going to be there to catch it and to reach out and make contact with you. This offer also gives you protection on and off network. So today I'm traveling, I'm not at home. My device is protected. When I go back to our corporate office in East Greenbush, New York, my device is protected. Regardless of where the device is, it's always protected. And that was kind of a high-level overview into two of the services that the Center for Internet Security provides, and two services that can really help you protect your environment, protect your infrastructure, and better your cyber posture and hygiene. Thank you guys for having me on your call. If there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My information's on the screen. I'm also going to drop it into the chat window. And I look forward to partnering with you guys, answering any questions you may have, and helping you protect your environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. And I know you need to run. Thank you for taking this time out of your schedule, busy schedule, and doing this presentation. I don't see any questions in the chat at the moment, but if someone can think of anything later, feel free to contact us as well here at WiscNet, and we'll connect you too.
Thank you. And I'm gonna just put my information in that chat window in case.
Excellent.
I hope you guys have a beautiful day out there in Wisconsin. Take care. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, and now we'll hear from Megan. Megan, take it away.
All right, thank you. And thanks to Simona. That was some good information. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Oops. There we are. Is that looking good?
Yeah, looks perfect.
Okay. All right, so, I mean, I know we mentioned a little bit earlier what the MS-ISAC is. Well, and I'll start with introducing myself a little here too. So I'm Megan Inserto, and I'm a regional engagement manager for the MS-ISAC. So my role here is to really help our members get signed up for all of our no-cost services. So everything that I kind of cover and go over is included with MS-ISAC membership, so it is no cost. But really, I'm here as kind of your point of contact at the MS-ISAC, so any questions, things like that, feel free to reach out to me and I can kind of point you in the right direction. So basically for today, I kind of want to run through some of those no-cost services, but also sort of walk you through the incident response lifecycle, showing you how you can utilize the MS-ISAC throughout each phase of the incident response lifecycle. So we'll start off, again, we are the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center. So we use MS-ISAC for short, but basically we are designated by the Department of Homeland Security as a key resource for state, local, tribal, and territorial governments to offer you no-cost and low-cost cybersecurity resources. So one thing I like to note is when I say SLTTs, state, local, tribal, and territorial governments, that does also include things like public schools, public health care, and public utilities. So anything that is, in the public sector that is funded through the state or local government, they are all eligible for MS-ISAC membership. We are also a division of the Center for Internet Security, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit. And signing up, if you're not already a member of the MS-ISAC, membership is completely free. So there's no cost associated with joining the MS-ISAC. And to get signed up, there's a registration link at the bottom of this slide. Filling out that quick form, that is how you would become a member. Now, a quick look at, a little bit about who we are. Let's look at who do we serve. So right now, the MS-ISAC's been around for just over 20 years. So we currently have all 50 states as members of the MS-ISAC. We just recently hit a big milestone of having over 16,000 members nationwide. So that's been pretty exciting. And then, we have all 80 DHS recognized fusion centers. In Wisconsin alone, there's 495 members, 189 Wisconsin public schools, 17 Wisconsin public higher education, and we even have 7 public libraries there in Wisconsin. So those are, a good snapshot of, what our membership consists of. So really, now you know a little about who we are, who we serve. Let's take a look at really why are we doing what we do. A lot of you are probably all too familiar with news stories like these examples on the slide, and unfortunately, cyber attacks are on the rise nationwide, and SLTTs like public schools and utilities continue to be a major target for attackers. So we're seeing some pretty devastating effects from this, like classes being canceled, personal information from students and teachers is being stolen, health information is being stolen, and many of our members really just don't have the resources to defend their organizations against these well-funded state-backed cyber threat groups. So, we'll take a closer look at some of the impacts of some of the cyber attacks that we're seeing. So as I mentioned, some of the data that, in your organizations, especially schools that you're working to protect, it's some of the most high value targets for cyber attackers. So, when an attack occurs without the proper preparation, you really could be looking at several months long remediation efforts. And some of that data, it may never be recovered. Ransomware can also come with some significant remediation costs, sometimes over $1 million. So really, all in all, this is why we at the MS-ISAC are really here to sort of help with this and offer you the tools that we have to kind of help you against these cyber attacks. So let's look at, this is the NIST incident response lifecycle. So this is going to outline the different phases of incident response. and provide you with kind of a roadmap for creating an incident response plan and what you should include throughout each phase. More details about the incident response lifecycle can be found in the NIST document 861. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about incident response, that's definitely a great place to start. So the first phase here is the preparation phase. So as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be really one of, I think, the most important phases and where a lot of, focus and work is going to be. So during this preparation phase, we're really focusing on preventing incidents to the best of our abilities, but we're also preparing for when an incident does occur. So a lot of us have heard the saying, it's not a matter of if an incident will happen, it's when. So by, really strengthening the preparation, you can be ready for something like that. So here are some of our tools that can really help you prepare for a cyber incident. So, first off, the preparation phase, it's continuous. So it's always important to stay on top of the most current cyber trends and the threat landscape. So at the ISAC, we publish a lot of helpful reports, alerts, and advisories, things that can help you to stay current and spread awareness about the most prevalent threats that we are noticing. So on this slide, there's just a couple of the reports that I wanted to point out. There's our joint ransomware guide that we created in partnership with our friends at CISA and the FBI. So this is going to outline some TTPs and IOCs that are specifically targeting, the K-12 sector. And then we also recently came out with the K-12 report. This is going to highlight the K-12 sector and the current threat landscape. So there's a lot of really useful information in both of these documents. I encourage you to check them out, but really just to spread awareness and keep yourselves up to date on some of the most current threats that are out there. So in addition to that, one of the things that I also always recommend during the preparation phase is choosing a framework. So one of the things a lot of members tell me is, they don't always know where to start with their cybersecurity plan. So by choosing a framework, and this is just one example, this is the CIS controls. There are others like NIST and things like that, but choosing a framework, and walking through that and following it. So I think the CIS controls is a good one to start with because these are our 18 prioritized security controls. That's going to help you achieve at least basic cyber hygiene. Working towards implementing each of these controls, it's going to ensure that you're complying with at least a baseline standard of cybersecurity best practices. Now, we also try to make the controls kind of attainable for organizations of any size. So they actually are offered in what's called different implementation groups. So implementation group 1 is really that baseline, and that's where we recommend people start. So, by following each control, it's going to have a set of safeguards. Implementation group 1, you only have to achieve maybe 2 of those safeguards per control to reach implementation group 1. So from there, they build upon each other. You can move into an implementation group 2, but by getting to 1, that's going to really protect your organizations against, the most common types of attacks. So framework, definitely a great place to start preparing. Now, once you've kind of gotten through all of that, another step that I recommend is taking a self-assessment. Now, we offer a couple different assessments here at the MS-ISAC. Again, these are no-cost, anonymous self-assessments, but the big one that we offer is called the Nationwide Cybersecurity Review, or the NCSR. This is just over 100 questions. It's based on the NIST cybersecurity framework, and it's going to provide you with a lot of really valuable results and feedback. So not only, will you get your results and see how you scored, but you can also use that to create kind of a roadmap for your cybersecurity plan. One thing I recommend if you do spend the time taking the NCSR is to schedule a meeting with our maturity services team. They're happy to sit with you, walk through the results of the NCSR, and then help you to create that plan. They can also provide you things like policy templates, documentation, incident response plan templates. So a lot of really good documentation and things from the NCSR as well. I will mention that it opened at the beginning of October and it does run through to the end of February. So you have some good time still to kind of get signed up and take the NCSR for this year. Okay, so lastly here in the preparation phase, I want to show you one of our no-cost services. This is called our CIS Free Secure Suite. So as a member of the MS-ISAC, you would get access to Secure Suite at no cost. And really, there's a lot of great resources within Secure Suite. So to sum this up pretty quickly, I could do a whole presentation on Secure Suite alone, but really this is going to give you access to the controls. So the framework that I just mentioned, you'll see that in Secure Suite. Then there's also going to be a tool that can help you track the implementation of those controls. So making, that organization and that process flow a little bit easier. And then you're also going to have access to what's called our CIS benchmarks. So those are our configuration guidelines. And they come in, hundreds of different technologies, operating systems, servers. And that's going to show you what is our recommended secure configuration for, that technology. So there's a ton of those in there. There's also going to be a tool that can scan your workstations. It can compare your current configurations to our benchmark configuration, really making that task a little bit easier. One of the things that we've learned is a lot of attacks do occur due to misconfigured systems. So with Secure Suite, you're going to have, access to tools and resources that can really help you tackle misconfigured systems. There's also discussion groups in there. You can ask questions. It's really a cool little community. So there's a webinar on Secure Suite at the bottom, but if you have more questions and you want to learn more, definitely reach out to me and let me know. Okay, so moving from the preparation phase, the next phase in incident response is going to be your detection and analysis. So this is also where a lot of our no-cost resources will definitely come in handy. So let's jump into some of those. There's the life cycle. Now, Simona mentioned our Security Operations Center, our SOC. And this is a 24/7, 365 fully staffed security operations center. Now, when Simona was discussing it, they do things like monitor our Alber IDS. They, are constantly doing other things like our services. But one thing I like to note is that they are also there for our members to contact. So if you come across something suspicious, if you just have any cyber related questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to the SOC at that phone number or email address on the slide. Any time of day, any day of the year, somebody will pick up the phone and be able to offer you assistance. So they are there as your backup and your support. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of our members have limited resources and limited staffing. So now they get sort of the backup of having all of our security analysts that they can rely on as well. So the SOC is there to help you out in any sort of cyber related questions. Next, I want to show you quickly just a few of our services. This is our malicious domain blocking and reporting, or MDBR. This is going to also give you an additional layer of security. Really, this is our DNS filtering service that we offer in partnership with Akamai. Signing up for this, it's super easy. It takes about 15 minutes. You don't need any, additional hardware or software. All you're going to do is send your IPs into our SOC and then point your DNS forwarding over to Akamai. Then from there, every DNS lookup or request gets compared to MDBR's list of known malicious sites. So requests for sites like that get automatically blocked and then logged. So you're going to get, the additional layer of security by blocking those malicious domains, but you're also going to receive a weekly report that's going to outline the top 10 blocked domains, the threat type, severity level, and an executive overview. So, you get a really, no cost DNS filtering service plus some reporting. And then also our SOC is there as your backup for this service as well. So then, as far as services too, in the detection and analysis phase, this is a tool really that we offer that can help you with some of that analysis. So this is our malicious code analysis platform, or MCAP. If you've ever used a tool like VirusTotal, this is going to be very, very similar. And really what it is an online sandbox environment where you can submit any suspicious seeming, files, URLs, domains, email attachments. So if you come across something in your environment, or you just want to double check on an email attachment before you open it, you can submit that to MCAP. That's going to analyze it for you and provide you with a report telling you whether or not that file in question is malicious or not. So you get, a little, a tool that you can really use to take some of that analysis into your own hands. There's also a great feature here. If you do come across something that is suspicious, you can actually have it sent directly to our SOC. So one of our analysts can also take a look at it and then offer you additional guidance and next steps if necessary. So to request an account, you could just email that email address on the slide. You'll get login credentials for this one and be able to just use this whenever you see fit.
Megan, I think you're a slide behind.
Oh, what are we looking at?
Because now we're just looking at the malicious code analysis platform that you were just talking about. We had been on a previous slide. So I just wanted to, we're on containment and eradication.
Do you see CISA cyber hygiene?
Yes, now we do, yeah.
Okay. Oh, weird. Okay, that was strange. All right.
So the one that you were last talking about wasn't actually on the screen.
Oh no! Did you actually get to see the slide, MCAP?
It's like freezing a little bit, but now we can. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna turn off my camera just to reserve some bandwidth. Okay, so we're seeing CISA cyber hygiene.
No, now you need to move forward. Sorry if I threw off the perfect. Yep, you're good.
Okay. CISA cyber hygiene. Cool. So, and we're almost through all the slides here anyways, but this is one thing I like to mention. It's actually not an MS-ISAC service. This is from our friends over at CISA, but I think it really fits into that, this phase of incident response, because what they're going to offer you is no cost vulnerability scanning. So when you sign up for the cyber hygiene program, they are going to start those scans once a week. I believe they are Nessus scans. And then that could, occur even more often if they identify any critical vulnerabilities. They could do the scans as often as daily. So then they'll work with you as well as far as remediating some of those vulnerabilities. And you'll also have access to the historical data from the scans in the event of an incident. That can actually be very helpful to have that access to. So signing up for that one's easy. I can send you the instructions as well. All right, so the next phase is containment and eradication. So here, I hope we're seeing the right thing. Okay. So I mentioned earlier our SOC. Now our SOC also offers what's called our Cyber Incident Response Team, or CIRT. Now, CERT is available for our members if they do experience an incident. So they are going to have the ability to help you with some of the more technical tasks during an incident. So they can do things like malware analysis, log analysis, and computer forensics. So if you are experiencing an incident, the phone number for the CERT is the same as the SOC. So you would contact them, they would escalate you over to our CERT, and they're going to be able to really walk you through the steps to remediation, as well as help you with some of these more technical tasks. And really, you know, again, just being your backup and helping you recover from that incident. Now, during cyber incident response, I like to show, you know, what would really happen during an incident. So you're going to work on things like those digital forensics, log analysis, monitoring, and mitigation. It's also going to be really important to document all of your findings, determine the scope of the incident, and focus on lessons learned. So again, these are also all things that our SOC and our CERT can help you with in the event of an incident. Skip that. Now, the final phase of the incident response life cycle is going to be post-incident activity. So during this, you know, we've done most of our technical tasks. We're really going to go back and review and come up with our lessons learned. So this is just kind of a short post-incident checklist. It's a great starting point for questions to ask after the incident. So things like, how well did our plan work? What was missing? And trying to determine the root cause and how the incident happened. So now, okay, so I know that was probably a lot of information. Really what I do here on this recommendations page is break it down by what to do today, tomorrow, next week. So for starters, join the MS-ISAC. It's no cost, it's easy to sign up, and that's going to give you access to everything that I talked about today. Once you've done that, you know, you can look at enrolling in some of our services like MDBR. You can look at establishing an incident response plan. And then further down the road, look at those vulnerability scans and things of that nature. And of course, reviewing some of those guides that I shared with you. So I hope, you know, that was all very helpful. I know, again, it was a lot of information. So if we have any questions, I'm happy to stick around and help to answer any questions. And a big thank you to everybody for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Real quick, before we get into that Q&A, I do see that there is one in the chat already. I did just want to let everyone know, so we got a lot of requests after our conference in May that a lot of people either want to hear it again or missed out on the platform updates session of our conference, and it was a really big important one for people. So what we are doing is we are actually our next Teach and Learn, which will be Thursday, December 7th, kind of trying to avoid the holidays a little bit and split that difference. So it won't be the third Thursday or fourth in this instance, but December 7th will be a platform update Teach and Learn. So our engineering team will be there to give a presentation similar, but with a lot more updates of things that happened in the summer. And we are also trying to, because it was so popular, throw around the idea of trying to get them to do it another time in December as well. So give kind of people two options, but we'll see what if we're able to do that. But yeah, so with that said, if ever you need any assistance from us or you want any thing else, definitely reach out to us at membersuccess@wiscnet.net. But otherwise, we'll kind of just jump into questions here because we have a couple minutes. So Gary, you asked, how do the free MS-ISAC services compare to the free services offered by CISA? Megan, if you're able to kind of address that.
Sure, I can go ahead. So we do get asked this a lot because I don't blame people. It is a little confusing. So I'll break it down that CISA and MS-ISAC, we are two separate organizations, but we do work very closely together in that we are actually funded through CISA. So that's where that partnership comes in. Now, we also both offer no-cost cybersecurity resources. So we do some similar work. We try not to have too much overlap between what CISA offers and what we offer. So really, most of what I went over today, those services are from the MS-ISAC. The only one I talked about today from CISA is the vulnerability scanning. So their CISA cyber hygiene program. So that is also no cost. Now, CISA also offers additional services. They do, I think, in-person assessments. They do tabletop exercises. The CISA CSAs or cybersecurity advisors, they are regional. So everybody will have one within their state, sometimes even 2 or 3. So they're a little bit more hands-on and local to the state. But they also offer, additional services as well. But if anyone wants to, if you don't have the contact information for your cybersecurity advisor, I can send that over to you as well. I hope that was answered that.
Wonderful. Does anyone else have any questions for Megan at all? Also, Megan, would you be able to drop your contact information potentially in the chat? Because we send the chat transcript over to people as well.
Perfect. I'll do that now.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions for Megan? Okay. Anyone from the WiscNet side have any questions for Megan? Okay. All right. Wonderful. So Megan put her information in the chat. So if we don't have any other questions, you guys will be getting, everyone who registered will be getting a email probably within the next couple days to the next week with this recording and the information that was in the chat. We thank you so much for joining us this morning. And yeah, December 7th at 10 a.m. Is when we're having our platform update. So you'll probably be receiving a link to register to that in the next couple weeks here. So thank you everyone for joining. Megan, thank you so much
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, then we will give you back a minute of everyone's time. Thank you guys so much.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.